Hi, everybody. This is Gaynor Meilke, and you're watching Moving the Needle, which is digital transformation for the accounting channel. And I'm joined today with my co-host, John Higgins, and we're also lucky to have Paul Hamann. So, John, nice to see you.
Yeah, great to see you, Gaynor, and welcome everyone who's joining us today. And as many of you know who have watched our podcast in the past, we like to bring on guests, special guests who can talk about tools or services that they offer that can help you through your digital transformation. So we're very interested to learn more about RC reports here from Paul Hamann. So, Paul, welcome and to the podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much to both of you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and Paul, you and I have worked together over the past few years, and it's been I know it was eye-opening for me how many practitioners are really not as familiar with the importance of reasonable compensation reporting for their S-Corp clients, and that's what RC Reports was created to fill that need in the accounting channel and for business owners. So. I love a business legend story, which I always think RC Reports is a bit of a business legend because I think the story was that you and your partner kind of dreamed it up over a cocktail napkin.
A little something like that. I actually had gotten pulled into doing reasonable comp studies in the late 2000s because the IRS was coming hard on S-Corps. And my frustration was just the data and the ability to really back up your conclusion. So that's where RC reports came from. Got sparked out of that compliance push from the IRS. And we launched in 2012 and it took some lumps in the early years, but we've been growing and we really started to grow and scale in the last 3, 4 years.
Mhm.
So, Paul, maybe for members of our audience who are not as familiar with RC reports, tell us a little about, what the application is all about, please.
Yeah, so RC Reports is very niche focused, and what our software does is it determines reasonable compensation for closely held business owners, and we can do it for any entity type, but the overwhelming majority use us for compliance or for tax planning for S corps. So we can determine what quote unquote that reasonable compensation should be for an S corp owner, and it's a very unique set of um, kind of approaches and information that you use to determine that. It's not kind of simply looking at, what a engineer would make or somebody else would make. The way the IRS looks at and defines reasonable compensation, there's different approaches and different components you need to all include in that. So that's what we do.
It sounds like a great opportunity for CPAs that do a lot of traditional tax compliance can use this as a way to, start to become more advisory in some of their tax services.
Absolutely. So it was interesting. We came out direct, initially because people were getting audited and they didn't have a really good way of figuring out what this number should be. But what we found is when advisors, accountants use our product, if they already have a customer that's an S corp, when they kind of go through the process, they learn so much about the client because we talk about all the different hats they wear. And so it does present a lot of different advisory opportunities where you might be able to help your client out that you may not have known about or even thought about. And on the other side, the really big advisory opportunity that came out of using RC reports was looking at whether a pass-through entity such as a Schedule C or an LLC should become an S corp. And the biggest reason for that is payroll tax savings. And unless you know what your reasonable comp is, you have no idea what that payroll tax savings is. So advisory is what I like to talk about because it's the most fun. Compliance is really where the risk lies.
Uh,
Yeah,
Interesting.
100%, because I think a lot of small business owners want to try to have as low a salary as possible so that they pay little tax. But if it's not reasonable in the IRS eyes, then they're going to run into some issues for sure. So it is a great opportunity to educate clients as well with RC reports. But that's kind of I guess the first iteration of RC reports. And Paul, you were telling us that there's something brand new that's coming out. So let us know.
Yeah, so I'm a math guy. I live in numbers, so I get really excited about this. So if you're a numbers geek, a data geek, this is really fascinating what we were able to do. So I'm just going to rewind about a year, maybe a little over a year from
Mhm.
today. Um, we had been working on a product for the IRS to help them benchmark reasonable compensation. So it was under the former commissioner. And the former commissioner had empowered some of his regional folks to try out things like small and kind of report back and then move it up the chain. So a good friend of mine who is a retired IRS agent, he retired at a very high level, was helping me get that process going. And so we started to build this benchmarking product, which was really just an estimate of what we think reasonable compensation should be that the IRS could use really quickly to do a temperature check on a compensation figure. And then the election took place, the administration change, and Doge, and a whole lot of other things. The project isn't lost, but it certainly is wandering around right now. Hopefully, the IRS will eventually be able to pick it back up. But we decided to continue pushing that project forward commercially. And so we now have our very first version that is up and running and will be out with some of our integration partners either this week or next week. But what it does is, with very, very little information, we can benchmark what a S-Corp owner's reasonable compensation should be. Now, this isn't the same as running a report and using an IRS-approved method, but it'll give you a quick idea based on all of the hundreds and hundred thousand reports that we've run over our 13-year history, plus our database, our unique database of wages. We can do this now. We can do it quickly. And what's amazing is that we can do it with just your zip code, your NAICS code, your NAICS code, and how many employees you have. That's all we need, and we can benchmark that for you.
Oh, that's amazing. And it's such a good use of all that data because you really are the only provider who has all of that together for a
So
reasonable amount.
It's kind of
yeah,
like
and I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's like the Salesforce commercials talking about, data is the new gold. So you've got some gold there, right? With all that compensation data.
Mhm.
Yeah, and for years we were really looking at what we could learn from it, and we were learning from it, but the process was painfully slow. And then, of course, we all get a little bit of a helper in AI, and so we were able to bring AI in, and that accelerated that learning.
Mhm.
And the nice thing is, as we release this, we'll be able to continue learning with each benchmark that's run and each report that's run, and it will become just even more and more accurate.
Mhm.
And where does your tool fall into like the tech stack ecosystem? Like it is something you would integrate with the tax planning software? Does it run standalone, or is it integrate with the tax compliance software? Where's it kind of fit in the ecosystem?
Yeah, so perfect. Yeah, you hit all three. So it is a standalone app for most small accounting firms, but it can be used for advisory. So should I be an S-Corp, right? Okay, well, let's figure out what your reasonable comp is. Let's run a report. And then we do have a entity selection planning tool that's part of our software. You can run that with the inputs such as, what's your net income, reasonable comp, and a whole bunch, a number of other inputs. And we'll let you know, does it make sense from a payroll tax standpoint to become an S Corp? And then we do a 10-year projection on that. So that's an awesome deliverable.
Yeah.
And then from the compliance side, one of the things that is an awesome brag, we've been doing this for 13 years, our reports have always held up against the IRS. So when you run these proactively, you run one for 2025 and 2025 and have it in your file. If the IRS asks about it, you should be golden. We haven't had any issues. If they're run because there's a challenge and there wasn't a report initially on file, we become the voice of reason. The IRS knows us very, very well.
Mhm.
Well, that's pretty compelling for sure.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point because from a business standpoint, accounting firms that and tax firms that want to look at adding on different services to make tax clients more lucrative. I mean, not, I think I would feel a lot better as a business owner having one of those reports in my, file every year against that tax return. So definitely it's a business opportunity as well as just, good compliance on the part of the firm.
And Paul, how are you dealing with the issue? I assume you think about this in your business, like every business software developer. You've got this old, field of generative AI out there. People trying to do things on their own, kind of the do-it-yourself, an analyst and consultant and so on. How would what would you say about RC reports to say, hey, you really need this specialized application and not just rely on the generative AI to try to get that answer for you?
Yeah, so I would say probably the biggest differentiator between us and whatever AI agent you may want to use is about 85% of the wage data that we produce a report from is uniquely ours. And so you're just not going to be able to pull that from a search.
Mhm.
And second, the learnings that we have from 12, 13 years that's now being pushed into our reports and our benchmarking, that is proprietary. And attending some of the AI conferences and some of the thought leaders, I think you mentioned it a minute ago with Salesforce, right? Data is the new gold, and so our strategy, I think, what strategy for most people are that have unique assets and unique data is we keep it walled off, and so to get access to that, that's kind of um, the what the imperative right now, right? I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but a lot of sites that used to publish articles that you could just simply pop on and see, they're now walled off, even for just small amounts of money, because if not, AI will grab that and summarize it, and nobody will ever see that site. So it's
Yeah.
it's yeah, it seems like the internet was very wide open, and now it's starting to get gated and closed off a little bit more with our learnings.
Yeah, so I think all the history of data, like you mentioned, that's certainly very valuable. And then combining that with your knowledge of the issue, right? The reasonable compensation issue. Great.
Okay. So as far as what you're looking ahead to 2026 for, Paul, obviously you have the new product, but you spend a lot of time with firms thinking about the accounting profession. You've been entrenched in it for, quite a while. What do you think firms are missing in terms of either tech or their like business approach? We always like to ask him if you were future casting, what do you think firms should have their eye on in 2026 and beyond?
I think in 2026, you're going to see firms continue to, I don't know if consolidate's the right word, but use practice managers and other tech to bring all of their tech stack into
Mm,
kind of a central place. And so our prediction for our company is we're going to see less and less people logging into our app directly and coming in through a practice manager or
mm,
a transmitter, um, or find us in other apps. Sometimes you might not even know it's us. If you see, if we have a tech partner or an integrator that wants to use benchmarking and they want to white label it, we
mm,
may just be powering that from behind the scenes.
mhm. Yeah, so it's come quite a long way since you first were trying to do all those reports yourself, right?
Oh
It's
yeah, yeah.
amazing.
2 days, 3,000 bucks in the late 2000s is what you'd have to pay to get a report, and then know
Mm,
that me as the expert would be very nervous having to defend my conclusions because the data was not at all substantial or defensible. And I think uh, probably the biggest differentiator between our wage data and anything else you pull out there is our data is built for examination and
mm,
court. We end up in court a lot as well,
mm,
not necessarily for compliance and S-Corps, but like issues like divorce and business separation and other things. So our
mm.
reports are kind of used across the board when you've got to be able to back up your conclusion.
Yeah, and business valuation, right, as
Yep.
well. That's a really important piece of it. So multiple use and one tool that really I think every firm should be using it. As I said, when I first discovered RC reports, I was like, wow, I've never really seen anything like it, and that's still the case now. So it's hats off to you for finding that niche that's very needed within the tax and accounting profession, for sure. So to get started with RC reports, how should a firm, find you and start to get this integrated into their workflows?
So rcreports.com, easiest way to go. We'll be rolling out different integrations this coming year. So there'll be a section in there you can see who we're integrated with. If you're
Great.
using them, you can integrate in, such as a practice manager, and maybe you don't come into the dashboard as much. From that standpoint, if you're a little bit bigger firm and you're using some other practice managers or other tech, contact us and we can work with you to figure out if we want to integrate directly into your environment. So you can learn pretty much all of that at rcreports.com, but beyond kind of looking at what we offer on that site, depending on the size of your company, reach out to us. We'd love to do a demo or talk with you kind of about the best way to deliver that information to you.
Awesome. Well, good. Well, thanks for joining us. I think we probably should have had you on sooner, but now that you've got all the benchmarking tools as well, we can tell the whole story. I think that's wonderful.
So I
Yep.
appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I do, and I also I do a lot of CP presentations, Paul, for CPAs, and I have a course on smarter tax services with technology. So I
Mhm.
will be sure to incorporate RC reports as part of the conversation.
Awesome. Thank you.
You bet.
Definitely. All
It's
right.
always good to be able
Well,
to introduce new tools like that. Sure.
yeah, definitely. And it's good that you keep innovating the product as well. Keep gaining all of that new data. And really, it's a real-time data source that firms can turn to. And I think the compliance piece is critical as well. So, yep, definitely check out rcreports.com if you haven't already. All right. Well, thank you so much, Paul. It's been a pleasure. And till next time, everybody.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Paul.